Hello, in this video we're going to be looking at editing legends. We're going to be looking at the options to display the data, how we create templates, and then how we apply the same legend based on crop type. Okay, so now we want to look at the legends and the number of ranges that we have within our yield data to make it more manageable. We've got 7 ranges here and some consider that to be too many, so we want to narrow it down to a lower number. So we click the toolbox on the legend and it comes up with a number of options for us. Here on the right hand side we've got the current legend and the range, and if you want to take them out manually you can do by pressing the minus sign. If you want to edit the ranges yourself and manually input them, you can do. There's not a problem at all with that. If you want to use the computer generated ones, then we select ranges. And if we put in 5, for example, on equal count, it will create 5 ranges, and if we go back up to 7 and then click apply, it will take it back up to 7 and automatically calculate the difference for you. If we look at equal ranges, well, the spacing between the range or between the legends will be a ton. The low value is a ton as well, and the high value is 6. So if we click apply, then it will put it up to 7 ranges starting at a ton and then moving up to 6, and we can fiddle around with that to suit whatever we want it to be. And we've got a number of statistical options here, the standard deviation or half standard deviation, whichever you want to use. If we look at equal count and go back to 3, we see that our ranges have changed there. And let's just use this one as an example to start with. So I've got my 3 divisions. I go back into my template, and what I want to do now is to make sure that I can update the rape legend in this field with rape legends in other fields. So I'm going to right mouse click and select add, and it's asked me to confirm that it's dry yield, which it is. I want to right mouse click now and select default, and I then click apply to make sure that this template is now applied to this range. The one thing that I just need to make sure of, if I'm going to manually alter any of these ranges, then I have to right mouse click and select update to update the template that you've got. If I want to go back to the old one, I click apply, and it puts whatever was in the memory of the template back onto the legend that we have from there. If you want to change the colors, you can do. There's some default color options here. That's entirely up to you, and you can save the schema for if you need to look at saving different colors for different jobs. Again, the best thing to do here is just play around and see how you get on. If you want to add range counts and histograms and values and the like, these are all the buttons that you need to tick, and in this instance we won't. We'll just go with where we are. So we've selected our three bands. We click OK, and so we see now that we have the 3 bands within our legend on our against our yield information. So if we now look at rape from another year, if I double click that, and I then select dry yield because that's the commodity and the attribute that we were looking at, it automatically puts it into the legend that we describe. So it makes it a very quick way of being able to compare colors with colors and crops with crops, and we're not being distorted by those color ranges. So if I remove that range, figure, that field, and then click back to zoom to all, so I get back to spinny field. If I click range counts, let's click them all so you can see what they all are. So that's 3, 2 and 1. So we click OK. It will now describe in the legend area that we've got 1, 2, 3, the 3, 2, 1 that I put in, the number of points, and then proportion of points against each other in that particular field. and that information. So if you want to display that, that you can do. So if we don't want them, we can untick them and get rid of them, and just come back to the ranges within the legend there. And so the best thing to do here is just choose early on the legend that you want for your particular crop, and then stick with it, and then make sure that you use that across all your crops. The key part to remember in all of this is to make sure that we don't have all commodities ticked as a default, because if you do, it will override our individual crop default. So we want to make sure that the default button, which is a little tick next to it, isn't selected on all commodities, and that dry yield is selected, whether it's dry yield, wet yield, speed. It can be any of them, any of the views, it doesn't matter. We just want to make sure that they are the default for that particular attribute. And so there's a lot to play around with when it comes down to discussing legends. It's mainly down to your interpretation and what you would like your legends to be, and then once you've made your mind up, stick with it and make them consistent across all of your crops. So that's how we work with legends. Extremely helpful if we manage them correctly, and making sure that, so just to make sure that our data appears all the same and comparable when we look at it in our software.